plan, you've got it covered. The time by Sagicor Life is
7 o'clock, and it's time for the Morning Watch, which is brought to you this morning by AIM Financial Corporation Limited. AIM has a loan for any purpose. Visit any of our branches in Mandeville, Kingston, Spanish Town, Portmore, Maypen, Otrius, and Montego Bay.
In need of a loan? AIM Financial is the place to go. We have loans from $20,000 to $3.3 million. Get a loan to pay school or college tuition, medical expenses, bills, fix up your house, buy furniture and appliances, repair or buy a car. And when you're done, take a vacation loan. AIM has a loan for any purpose. Call AIM today. You won't find a better deal elsewhere. Guaranteed.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live in the main watch. Murder equals 30 years, concerns and implications. And in the second watch, Ombudsman out of an office. How will we now find peace in politics? For our social media question, we ask, if not 30 years in prison as the minimum punishment for murder, what would you recommend? What would you recommend? Share your responses on our Facebook or YouTube, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your comments later on in the program, but first, here's I quote.
I quote this morning is an island quote from Trinidad and Tobago. Cattle horn never too heavy for him to carry. Your troubles in life will never be too much to handle.
Very interesting. I guess the Lord will never give us more than we can bear, Deidre. Is that what you think it means?
Same way like that.
Same so. Listeners, the main watch will be back after this break.
What would I do without you? You help me carry on, you help me stay strong. Whenever I'm down and can get through, you lift me up again and going all day long. Precious moments we share with you, everything's so right. It's clear, nothing else can compare to the taste that you bring to life. Mom, you're full of life.
Let's give ourselves the best gift yet. Great mobile and internet. Value the whole year long. Garden Road's the best to get. Flow has savings just for you. Give great Christmas gifts, it's true. Samsung tablet for my boo. Samsung too. Our moments together with Flow Garden Road, it's better. This Christmas, Flow gives the best to you.
With Garden Road, get a Samsung tablet or a phone for just $999 plus GCT.
Flow gives the best to you.
Conditions apply.
What is a budget? A budget is an estimate of total income and expenses over a period of time, such as a month or a week. You should review your budget often. You can make a budget for any project, business, or financial goal that you may have. This financial literacy tip was brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy.
For 50 years, Under the Law has been helping you to know your rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. And we continue to do this in 2022. The program is brought to you on Tuesdays by the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. Grow smart, eat smart. Under the Law at 6:20 a.m., 2:35, 6:45, and 9:10 p.m. on Love 101 FM.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch, and the government has indicated that it is preparing to take legislation to Parliament soon to increase the minimum sentencing for the heinous crime of murder. And the minimum period that one would be allowed to serve in prison for is 30 years. And during the sitting of the House of Representatives on November the 22nd, the Prime Minister Holness said that the Minister of Justice has been directed to bring forward these changes immediately. But there have been reports of pushback from various quarters. What is the cause for this, and what are the concerns? We have on the line today help us unravel this, look at this, understand this, distill this. Bert Samuels, attorney at law, and we should also be having online Jade Williams, policy and advocacy specialist of Jamaicans for Justice. Bert Samuels, good day. How are you?
I am very good this morning, and greetings to you and your listeners, and to Jade.
Jade Williams?
Yes, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Samuel.
Great. Good. Now, starting, what is the law now in relation to the offense, the punishment for the offense of murder, the crime of murder, and this matter of the minimum sentence? Mr. Samuels, could you help the listeners to understand this matter of the minimum sentence as well? Mr. Samuels?
In reverse order, what has happened is that in a normal situation, judges determine how much punishment a citizen gets. And there's what is called a separation of powers, where the legislature, that is Parliament, must not encroach on the judiciary, and the executive, which is the cabinet, who carries out policies, must also be independent of the judiciary. But where you have minimum sentences passed by the Parliament, what Parliament is virtually doing, in my view, is stepping into the courtroom and imposing a sentence in an area that I think judges alone should be occupying. And therefore, this minimum sentence that must be passed ties the hand of the judge, that they cannot impose a sentence that they think is appropriate, but must impose in a minimum way the desires of the Parliament. That is my perspective on minimum sentences.
And can you remind persons listening as to what is the current, or what are the current punishments for murder, whether capital murder versus non-capital murder?
Oh, well, let's go to capital murder. The listeners should know that the penalty for that by law is the death penalty. However, Privy Council case that has said, although Parliament has said that once you're convicted for capital murder, you shall be sentenced to death, a Privy Council decision has said, no. You can't cause a person to lose their life without allowing them to, as it were, tell you why they shouldn't lose their life. And therefore, there has to be now sentencing hearing where the judge doesn't automatically impose the death penalty. And the person can bring evidence and make submissions why they should not get the ultimate penalty of death. And that has been shown to me to mean that the Privy Council is saying that Parliament cannot dictate sentence as much as it tries to. I don't know if I've answered you. All right, for other murder now, there is what is called life with with an order how long the person should stay in prison before they can apply, which another big word is become eligible for parole. So the normal sentence is imposed in this way. John Brown is sentenced to life with the rider, the statement that they shall not be eligible to parole until 20, 30, 40, 25 years has lapsed. So virtually what you do, once you serve that period of time, you can now apply to come out. Okay. Doesn't mean you're going to come out. You have to be of good behavior. The community must be prepared to accept you, etc. I hope I'm making it clear now. Hello?
Yes, we are understanding what you're saying, Mr. Samuels, and we are understanding what you're saying, Mr. Samuels. And for the benefit of the listeners as well, can you just give an example of, say, capital murder and an example of, say, non-capital murder?
Oh, capital murder is where, and there are about 4 situations where you're charged for capital murder. Firstly, if you have been convicted for killing more than one person, it's capital, straight. Once it's more than one person. Yes. Secondly, if you kill whilst committing another felony, so a man who is rape and kill, burglary a house and kill, that's capital. If you kill a police officer whilst on duty,
and an example, and an example. Okay.
Hello.
If you kill an officer while on duty.
Yes, police officer, yes. In other words, if he's in plain clothes, it's going to be difficult to show that you knew he was a police. So it's usually uniformed and on duty. You get the point.
Okay. And an example of non-capital murder?
A police officer and it becomes capital murder.
And an example of non-capital murder would be?
Clearly a police officer, acting as a police officer. If you kill a judge or anyone sitting in a judicial capacity, then it's capital murder. So those are the ones that comes to mind. That those 5 categories.
Okay.
That means you are tried. But another rider is the DPP determines and must determine at the commencement of your trial whether they will be asking for capital murder or non-capital. So let me tell you how that works. You may very well have committed a capital murder, but the Director of Public Prosecution can charge you and have you tried for non-capital, notwithstanding the fact that it is capital. I hope I've made that clear. So recently, when the gentleman who killed 5 family members or whatever, he was allowed to plead guilty to non-capital murder by the DPP. Yes, although it was capital. A little confusing, but hope I understand.
If only one person is murdered, that is non-capital murder, Mr. Samuels.
Yeah, so if you kill one person, only it's non-capital. What you normally call domestic murder. You're engaged in a fight, wife killing husband, husband killing wife, family members killing one another, friends coming a fight and they kill each other, or just plain murder. You know, no other crime committed along with it, shooting, which amounts to the majority of murders in Jamaica are non-capital. The capitals are competing with the non-capital now because people are killing 2, 3, 4 people at one go. So the non-capital is what we call normally the domestic murders or the murders which are not accompanied with any other offense.
Understood. Jade Williams, Jamaica Policy and Advocacy Specialist, your view on the minimum sentencing and that the minimum ought to be 30 years before we head to the break. Mr. Williams?
Well, first of all, Mr. Williams, but we have some similar thoughts.
I'm sorry, I have my deep apologies. My apologies, yes.
Okay. Yes, so we have some similar thoughts to Mr. Samuels in that the judicial discretion is encroached on with this sort of putting in an additional minimum. As Mr. Summers would have said, there is already a prescribed sentence in the Act, but it does leave the necessary room for judicial discretion, where judges
Jade
can
Williams,
actually evaluate the matters.
Jade Williams, hold
Yes.
that thought one moment. We are already upon a break. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
Okay, sure.
Get better coverage for yourself and your family as low as $800 a month. The time by JN Life Vest from JN Life Insurance is
$7.15 and a half.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on JN Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. JN Bank will help you find a way.
It's almost Christmas, and Fosbridge is inviting you to Christmas in November super sale. November 21 to December 1. Enjoy massive discounts on lighting, chandeliers, wall lamps, electrical plugs, wires, conduits, and so much more in Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. Christmas come early, and we'll be unwrapping massive discounts of up to 60% off. It's Christmas in November super sale. November 21 to December 1. Only at Fosbridge.
Hey, my peeps, get this on the regular. Your HIV status, if you consider, the least of a test once a year. Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Cause it might not show up on your timeline and you learn too late, so you're out of time. A progressive future, mandatory, really long life, our story. You hear?
Remember, update your status in a real life. Go HIV test today.
Just 15 minutes and your status clear. Really long life, our story. Real long life was a youth coming from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
You work hard to make Jamaica a first-class destination. Isn't it time you receive the 5-star benefits? Retire smarter with the Tourism Workers Pension Scheme, a portable plan that also provides your family with financial security in case of your untimely death. It's easy, affordable, and accessible online. Retire and relax with the Tourism Workers Pension Scheme. Visit twps.myguardiangroup.com or call 876-927-4105. Guardian Life. Live secure. Live easy.
Let's give ourselves the best gift yet. Great mobile and internet. Value the whole year long. Gotta know the best to get. Flow has savings just for you. Give great Christmas gifts, it's true. Samsung tablet for my boo. Samsung too. Our moments together with Flow Yard and Road, it's better. This Christmas, Flow gives the best to you.
With Yard and Road, get a Samsung tablet or a phone for just $999 plus GCT.
Flow gives the best to you.
Conditions apply.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch, and the topic in this main watch is murder equals 30 years, concerns and implications. And we have as our guests Bert Samuels and Jade Williams. Jade Williams, before the break, you're from Jamaicans for Justice, and in your role, you are sharing your thoughts in relation to this area. Please continue, Ms. Williams.
Yes, I had started off by saying that we agree with Mr. Samuels that the judicial discretion is encroached when we consider mandatory minimum sentences in general, and in this case in particular.
Miss Williams, I know yes. I'm cutting into you, but let's flip it a little bit here. Hasn't the judiciary been hasn't the judiciary arguably been encroaching on the legislature? I'm just putting that out there just for the sake of, how it's stirring the pot a little bit.
Absolutely not. The judiciary's role is to interpret the legislature as it is written, and that is what they do.
Understood.
The point of judicial discretion is that judges are able to consider a case on a case-by-case basis.
Not a problem, Ms. Williams, but let us look at it from another angle. The state says capital murder is punishable by the death penalty. But yet the judiciary keeps saying, well, you need to look at the matter in a particular way. So you have this law that's passed by Parliament, but Parliament seems to be almost unable to have it carried out because of the judiciary. Any thoughts on that, Jade Williams?
It is not simply because of the judiciary why it is unable to carry it out. We have looked at the death penalty in so many different angles, from a human rights perspective, from a judicial perspective, from the perspective of a deterrent, which I would assume is the goal of Parliament when it implements sentences for criminal offences. And from all of those angles, we have seen where it has been not only ineffective at what its actual goal is, but also has just ended up being a cruel measure that, when implemented, does not actually deter crime. So when we look at it from that perspective, we cannot say that the judiciary has encroached on Parliament's intentions. Furthermore, this is not something that is limited to our local judiciary. This is something that was taken to appeal to the highest court that we could possibly appeal to at the Privy Council. But that is not our only concern with mandatory minimum sentences, because we have to also look at our local context when we look at our correctional system. And at the moment, we simply don't have the infrastructure to be implementing mandatory minimum sentences in so many areas. We've already just passed a Firearms Act where we have implemented mandatory minimum sentences for firearm offences, which is one of, as our government would have shown in their statistics, our highest offences, one of the highest criminal offences committed in the country. So if we are implementing a mandatory minimum sentence for that kind of offence, where the judge cannot use any discretion to determine the length of the sentence, we would have what is already an issue being perpetuated, which is prison overcrowding. And part of our work at Jamaican is to visit these lockups and to see the conditions in which these prisoners are housed. And at this point, we are over capacity in almost all of our facilities. So we have
One
to
second, Miss Williams. One second, Miss Williams. So would you argue that there should be 1 second, Miss Williams? Would you argue, therefore, that there ought to be no minimum punishment for murder?
There should be no
minimum. There should be no 3 years, no 10 years,
our current,
no 5 years, nothing at all.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you properly.
Okay, I'm asking the question. I'm asking it another way then. Is it that there should be no minimum at all?
Jamaicans for Justice perspective on this matter, in particular to murder, is that the current provisions are sufficient to deal with the issue of murder where judicial discretion is maintained. That is our position.
Marshall.
Understood, Miss Williams. Bert Samuel, sir, are you also saying, well, let me not say also, are you saying that there should be no minimum at all?
No, leave it to the judges. The judges are the ones who get the social inquiry report. Probation officers go out and look at the person, look at his community, and the probation officers usually recommend what kind of sentence they think is appropriate. Recommend. And therefore, when you take away that discretion from the judge, you run into problems. We had a case recently where the judge decided that this man should get 6 years, and she said it. But the parliament has said 15. When he called witnesses as to character after the matter, he called his member of parliament. His member of parliament spoke about how good a person he was, and that he was a community leader. He was a member of the JDF at the time, an exemplary citizen. The judge looked at the member of parliament and rightly said, but you voted in parliament, tying my hand to 15 years. You are the one that has caused me to have to impose the 15 years. That's a perfect example of the fact that circumstances alter cases, circumstances alter punishment. And therefore, it tells you that the Parliament has tied the hands of our judges who before now were able to look at the situation and give the appropriate sentence. I say no more.
Mr. Summers, where do you think, or how do you think we even came to the place where we're having a discussion one way or the other in terms of there being even a minimum sentence? Because again, we are coming from a situation before there was even a separation between capital murder and non-capital murder. The penalty was the death penalty.
Yes.
Now we're having an argument over 30 years. Where do you think all this came from, where we're now where we are?
I think what has happened is because we have moved away from the death penalty in practice, because although it's on the books, no one has been hanged in the last 20 years. So we have now come, how do we deal with the monster of crime and the monster of wanton taking of citizens' lives? And that's what I think has informed this. We have a knee-jerk reaction. The gun court itself was built in 1974, where you got indefinite detention. So it is always that we're trying the draconian way of stopping crime. When you send an 18-year-old to prison for 30 years, he leaves his pregnant girlfriend out there. By the time he's in prison, that young girl's baby becomes a boy, and then he becomes fatherless. Then he joins his father in custody in the last 12 years of his father's 30 year. That's not a fable. That's a reality. That's the social aspect, the conditions in which young men in particular grow and survive in Jamaica with no leadership, lack of education, hopelessness, is the root cause. It is not putting them away for 30 years that will solve the problem. And do we look at the prison population, how it's going to be increased? Has anyone looked at the general penitentiary and to see the overcrowding that's down there? That's what we need to look at. Are we putting them in a university of crime for 30 years so the young offender learns to perfect his crime by the time he's out of that institution, 30 years? And then, you know, there are those who say, what about the innocent who are convicted?
Yes. Jade Williams, Miss Williams, before we wrap, any comments in relation to what Mr. Summers has just said? And some will ask, what about the notion that the punishment should fit the crime? And so 30 years is probably a drop in the bucket versus what used to obtain, which is the death penalty. Jade Williams, before we wrap.
Well, in regards to the punishment should fit the crime, I would say that is why we have judicial discretion, so that the judges can look at all aspects of the crime, all the surrounding circumstances, hear the voices of victims. But
we're talking about murder, though, you know, Miss Williams.
Pardon me?
We're talking about murder.
Of course we are. We are talking about murder, but murder occurs in so many varying circumstances. We cannot think of murder as with
Jamaica's high murder rate
is doing out of evil. There are many different circumstances in which murder can take place, and that is why we would have the judicial discretion there to take into account those circumstances. So
the murder rate is high, though, Ms. Williams.
Can be given.
Our murder rate is high, though.
Yes, our murder rate is high, but that will not be solved by longer sentences. What we need to look at is the root causes, as Mr. Samuels would have rightly said, of what is causing or murder rate, and address those root causes. Those root causes will not be addressed by implementing higher sentences or more draconian laws in response to the issue.
I think that's Ms. Williams and Mr. Summers. I think that's where we have to leave it today. I'm seeing where we are now totally out of time. Want to thank Bert Summers and Jade Williams for being with us in the main watch. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Talk to Jane Bank today to find out about achieving your own sweet home in 30 days. The time by Jane Bank Mortgage is
7:30, you're reminded that the Morning Watch is sponsored today by AIM Financial Corporation Limited. AIM has a loan for any purpose. Visit any of our branches in Mandeville, Kingston, Spanish Town, Portmore, Maypen, Ocho Rios, and Montego Bay.
Falling behind? Not an option.
Just keeping up gets you nowhere.
Staying ahead of inflation is the only way to get ahead.
If you're investing, you want your returns to stay ahead of inflation. Sagicor Sigma Real Growth Fund has a track record of performance that has seen over 21.28% growth over the past 12 months. Invest in Sigma Real Growth Fund and earn stable returns so you can get ahead. Call 888 Sagicor to speak with a Sagicor Investments Wealth Advisor. Conditions apply.
Auntie Donna. Hi guys, Auntie Donna here, and I'm here to tell you about Phoenix Vision Center. And as you guys know, Auntie Donna is the brand ambassador for Phoenix Vision. At Phoenix Vision, we have the best eye care service and the best prices on designer frames. We have 3 locations here in Jamaica: Champions Plaza in Falmouth, St. Anne's Bay, and of course, 10th Street in Port Maria. Call us or WhatsApp us at 876-589-8327. See you there. Auntie Donna said that.
Make people proud of you.
Jamaica's gangs are like packs of rats. They live in filth and try and drag us all in there with them, spreading the disease of violence and corruption everywhere. But like a pack of rats, they can be eliminated with your help. If you have information on gangs, call Crime Stop on 311. This message is brought to you by Crime Stop and their marketing partners, Lime and NCB.
Let's give ourselves the best gift yet. Great mobile and internet. Value the whole year long. Gotta know the best to get. Flow has savings just for you. Give great Christmas gifts, it's true. Samsung tablet from a boo. Our moments together with Flow, Yard Road, it's better. This Christmas, Flow gives the best to you.
With Yard Road, get a Samsung tablet or a phone for just $999 plus GCT.
Flow gives the best to you.
Conditions apply.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at our news sources to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we turn to the Jamaica Observer. We have here, Qatar says worker deaths for World Cup between 400 and 500. And we also have in the Observer, erupting Hawaii volcano spurs warning for people to prepare. We now turn to the Gleaner. And in the Gleaner, among the stories, still no word on missing gun salute at cop's funeral. And also we have in the Gleaner catchment of African Haines Pass and many others. We'll read through some of the, if not commend, if you haven't done, Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Come here, Lizzie. We have to leave now, but I'm so glad I can carry my Love 101 FM with me anywhere me go.
How you do that?
What do you mean? I have the Love 101 FM app on my phone, so no matter wherever support me go, I just click on the app and props. My Love 101 is right here with me on my iPhone.
But after me not have iPhone, so how me I go here?
Simply go to your Play Store on your Android phone. Search for Love 101 FM. The red app with the Love 101 logo will show up and you just download it. Even my friend in New York did a listen Love the other day. Clear New York, my dear. And you know how him did a listen?
Let me guess.
Pan the Love 101 FM app.
All right then, all right. Me I go download it so I can have love with me to anywhere me go. Have you downloaded the Love 101 FM app? Take Love 101 FM with you anywhere and listen anytime via the Love 101 app. Available in your Play Store for Android phones and on your iPhone in the App Store. Love 101 FM. We are here, there, and everywhere. The family station.
Love 101. The family station.
You know, it really tests my patience when I'm trying to do business and have to submit the same personal information over and over again. No, my One JN Passport experience allows me to breeze through when I do business with the Jamaica National Group. I just have to submit my current personal information one time and bam, I'm recognized at any JN company through my One JN Passport experience. Now that is convenience. Go to jngroup.com/One JN Passport today and sign up. JN, we'll help you find a way.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. DJ, what comments do we have in relation to the feedback question? If not 30 years in prison as the minimum punishment for murder, what would you recommend, DJ?
Good morning, Brother Stokeley and Sister Deidre. In God's sight, every man is equal. So I do not think there should be any capital or non-capital murder. Murder is just murder. Then no, the word of God, the most wise words. Okay, say, whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God has God made man. So, as once it's not accidental, anybody who kills should be killed in return by the state. Okay? And yes, that is it.
Any more comments, DJ?
Yes, we have Kevin who says, I would recommend swift destruction, which is the death penalty. Jackie says, I believe these people should be used to contribute to this country's economy by letting them plant ground provisions and raise livestock on the whole heap of wastelands all over the place, and the skilled inmates be put to use in their skill areas. And then we have one more from Sister Benjamin.
Good morning. For murder, somebody murder somebody, then forget life in prison. Life. Yeah. Once you murder somebody, yeah. Or them bringing back the electric chair. Yeah. That is how I see it. You take up a weapon and murder somebody, yeah.
Those are the comments this morning.
Thank you, DJ. Very interesting comments from the persons who sent them in, and of course, always keep those comments coming in. Always keep those comments coming in. Now, we move right into the second watch. Donna Parchment Brown's contract as the political ombudsman expired, and a new one was not offered. But we gather it is not personal. The word about town is that the office will be restructured. But the government isn't saying anything about it or about that quite yet, or not so fully yet. Although it's been said
the talk is that, or it is being indicated, that the office would be restructured, maybe brought under the umbrella of another entity or institution. The National Integrity Action, however, would prefer the position of the Ombudsman not to be made redundant or, as it were, changed from where it is at this time. We have as our guest today Professor Trevor Monroe himself, who is the Principal Director of the National Integrity Action. Good morning, Professor Monroe. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Stokeley. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I am well, and I am interested to unravel the concerns in relation to this very earth-moving topic we're doing in the second watch. Because the first thing I want to ask you, sir, is why is this office important to the country, and what concerns, if any, do you have in relation to what appears to be the making of this post redundant, Professor Monroe?
Well, first of all, Stokeley, let us recall why the office was set up. It was set up in 2002, which means that it is enjoying its 20th anniversary, and therefore it is appropriate to review the extent to which the office has in fact been fulfilling its original mandate, which in essence is to investigate breaches of an agreement and declaration on political conduct, which both political parties represented in Parliament signed in 2005, a few years after the office was in fact set up. So what that agreement on appropriate political conduct said is that the days of, let us put it literally, cussing one another on the platform, of inspiring supporters to be hostile, the days of confrontation politically, all of those days should be behind us. That's what both sides agreed on in that code of conduct. And one could say, honestly, that the time when there was such great violence in the late 70s and into the 1980 election, which, as you may recall, regrettably, so many Jamaicans' lives were lost as a result of political confrontation. Those days are not today what they used to be. There's not that level of violence, there's not that level of confrontation, and therefore, to that extent, all people have matured, and the influence of the office under its two persons, Bishop Errol Miller and subsequently Donna Parchment Brown, has been playing an important role in that. However, there's one critical component of the agreement between parties, which one would be hard-pressed to say has been achieved to any significant extent. And I want to read it to you and your listeners. It's that element that both sides agreed on, that there will be an end to political tribalism. That quotation from the Agreement on Political Conduct. And tribalism is very, very clearly defined in that agreement. Official, and here I'm quoting, officials who by virtue of their position have control or influence over the appropriation of public funds or other public resources should not discriminate against any individual, group, or community on the basis of political allegiance or support. A major function of the Office of the Political Ombudsman, therefore, is to investigate and report on the extent to which that clause in the agreement is being breached and or being observed. I can't think of anybody, any of your listeners, from any community in Jamaica who would say honestly that there is not political favoritism, political favor to those communities that are in fact supportive of the government of the day and victimization, if you want to use that term, against communities where the vote went against the government of the day. In fact, more than that, Stokeley, you may recall, as I can't forget, statements made by members of parliament that this is okay, that, you know, you're idiot if you vote for the opposition because you're not going to get nothing. And if you vote for the government, then you will be favored. In those statements,
Monroe,
yes,
only because of time, we are now upon a break. Hold that thought, sir. Listeners, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Enough pickings to win from Digicel this Christmas. Switch to Digicel. Top up, activate a starter or prime Brought a bundle. Buy a SIM, pay your bill on time and in full for your chance to pick and win from loads of prizes in the My Digicel app. We are talking about over 60 million in cash and prizes. Daily cash prizes of $15,000, $10,000 supermarket, gas and electricity vouchers. A weekly draw to win a Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. Plus entry for a chance to win a grand prize of $2 million cash and more. Pick and win your prize in the My Digicel app today. Enough pickings with Digicel this Christmas. Visit DigicelJamaica.com for terms and conditions. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Promotion valid November 18, 2022 to December 29, 2022.
It's almost Christmas, and Phosphorus is inviting you to Christmas in November Super Sale, November 21 to December 1. Enjoy massive discounts on lighting, chandeliers, wall lamps, electrical plugs, wires, conduits, and so much more in Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. Christmas come early, and we'll be unwrapping massive discounts of up to 60% off. It's Christmas in November Super Sale, November 21 to December 1, only at Phosphorus.
They're full of life. You're full of love. They're carefree. You care more. That's why we created Child Protector, a critical illness insurance plan from Sagicor Life. It provides coverage for your child in the event of 15 critical illnesses, hospitalization benefits, life insurance, and investment benefits. So make sure your child can live life to the fullest. Apply for Sagicor Child Protector today.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch, and the topic we're looking at is Ombudsman out of an office. How will we now find peace in politics? Our guest is Professor Trevor Monroe, Principal Director, National Integrity Action. Before the break, Professor, you were outlining some things to us. Please continue, and to sort of pivot back to the topic, this matter of peace in politics. You outlined for us initially where we are coming from, and the concern certainly I have is I hope we don't go back there. Back to the genesis of this office. Please continue, Professor.
So my first point, Stokeley and listeners, is that the purpose which the office has been established and has been functioning for 20 years has been partially achieved, but in at least one very important respect, the victimization of Jamaicans for the way they vote or the favoring of others for the way they vote, that continues and it needs to stop. The office that was established to investigate and report on those actions is the Office of the Political Ombudsman. Inflammatory remarks which threaten the peace, those do continue, but to a lesser extent. You may look at remarks in August of 2019 by two members of the People's National Party who had to apologize. In fact, they withdrew their unacceptable remarks before the Ombudsman reprimanded them, Opposition Member Phillips and Opposition Member Waite. Within recent times, a few weeks ago, Member Warmington made remarks which the Office of the Ombudsman and the Ombudsman herself were in the process of dealing with, remarks of racial character, when her office term came to an end. So those kinds of comments which have the potential of reawakening the kinds of tensions that may lead us back to where we're coming from, and where we never wish to go back to, those remain. But beyond that, if I may, Stokeley, any effort to restructure, abandon the office flies in the face of the law itself establishing the office. And I want to read for you Section 3 of the Act.
Before you read Section 3, though, Professor Monroe, why can't it be restructured? Not saying to abandon or abolish it, but why can't it be restructured?
So long as the office remains an independent office, it can be restructured.
Okay.
Because what the law says, that this act, the Ombudsman's Act, shall continue in force, not until it is restructured, but listen to this, until provision is made in the Constitution for the establishment of a political ombudsman in terms which would make it impossible for a simple parliamentary majority of a government which had bad intentions, whichever government, to simply abolish the office.
Yes.
So that was the intention for 20 years ago.
Yes.
20 years later, the law intends to make the office a part of the Constitution so that no government can simply say we don't want an ombudsman anymore and abolish it or restructure it in a manner that makes it less effective. That would not happen. And what concerns me is that there are other parliamentary commissions which have played crucial roles. The Public Defender, that was passed in 2002 as well. The Election Commission itself, in 2006, that law was passed. Each of them say the same thing, Stokeley, that they shall continue. Each of them is called interim. That is for the time being. Until we put it in the Constitution, where no government could simply say abolish the Election Commission, which they can do right now, majority, or the Public Defender's Office, or the Political Ombudsman's Office. So my call,
sorry, Professor Monroe, I have seen the word interim there. I'm looking at it as we speak, and this is an interim act of what, 20 years now?
Interim. It's interim. So at the minimum, this places a heavy burden.
We have had both political parties in power during this interim period.
Exactly. The PNP was in power, the GDP was in power, both parties, and the interim remains. The act has not been put in the Constitution, and that must be a concern for all our citizens who, for example, see the same term, interim, the 2006 Electoral Commission interim. We're now in 2022. How many years is that, Stokeley? You're better arithmetic than me. That is 18 years, if I'm not mistaken. So what I'm saying is that A, there needs to be a full explanation, and if it is not acceptable, what should be done is the Constitution should provide for the Ombudsman's Act. Secondly, at the very minimum, no restructuring should take place without the fullest consultation with the opposition, whichever is the opposition of the day, without civil society being involved, Citizens Action for Free and Fair Elections, NIA, the Jamaica Council of Churches, the Umbrella Group, all our citizens need to be represented in that consultative process. And we ought to insist that the process should not go forward as the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs implied on another program, that she would be ensuring that there would be consultation. But we don't want consultation after the restructuring or after a decision has been taken. It then becomes a token. We want real consultation prior to any decision to restructure or to merge it, as has been floated with the Electoral Commission, which has quite a different responsibility and quite a different mandate. So I would ask and urge that what we do is speak out in the way that you might remember, Stokeley, when a proposal was made I think it was in 2019, yes, a proposal was made to make cabinet papers no longer secret for 30 years, subject to a public interest clause where you may be able to see what was said in less than 30 years. Proposal was made to make it secret from the Jamaican people for 70 years. 70 years.
Yes.
Press Association spoke out. The Media Association spoke out. Excuse me. NIA spoke out. And that proposal was made on a Tuesday. By the Thursday, it was withdrawn. In this case, I urge that a similar set of voices be heard and that folks stand up to say no restructuring without the fullest consultation as to why the intent in the law that the office be put into the Constitution, why that is no longer what is being proposed or what is being done. I believe it is of some significance because if this intent can be simply reversed without consultation, so it may well be reversed in respect of the Office of the Public Defender, which looks out for the rights of the people, and most of all, the Electoral Commission, which by virtue of our collaboration on both sides of the aisle and civil society remains one of the best in the world, setting an example for democracies everywhere. So if you can get rid of the Office of the Ombudsman, why not do the same? A malevolent administration, and I'm not saying that this is the one that we have, but in the United States for so many years, persons said it could not happen here. We have such an established democracy. But what we're seeing there now is significant moves to convert the electoral administration into a partisan instrument. We need to make sure that those parliamentary commissions, which we have, the Ombudsman, Public Defender, the Electoral Commission, that these be put in the Constitution so that they may not be simply manipulated, weakened, or abolished by any administration with any such harmful intent and any such undemocratic aspirations.
The average Jamaican person probably doesn't or didn't even know that this political ombudsman interim act has been interim for now 20 years. And many persons probably, they don't realize the full weight the office carries. Now, apart from maintaining the office, Professor Monroe, whether in its current form or if it's even restructured, it must definitely remain independent. That's what you're indicating. Can you comment on any additional powers you think the office should or should not have? Because that had been a complaint that the office lacks the teeth to really do anything.
Well, thank you for asking that very good question. That issue has been before us for many years. And to his credit, the Bruce Golding administration in 2010, in September, I was a member of the National Council of the Partnership for Jamaica, the Partnership for Transformation. And Prime Minister Golding chaired the council then, as indeed the Prime Minister now chairs the council. And he brought proposals on the recommendation of the political ombudsman to do a number of things. Number one, to make the agreement on political code of conduct no longer a gentleman's agreement, but to convert it into law. So, for example, discrimination against a community because of their political vote or non-vote would become a matter of breaching of the law, not just an agreement. Secondly, the Golding administration prepared legislation and informed the Partnership Council at the time that the legislation had been prepared to do exactly what we were discussing a while ago.
But the matter didn't go any further?
The matter didn't go any further. And there have been successive administrations. The Golding administration prepared a legislation to put the ombudsman in the Constitution, to put the Electoral Commission in the Constitution, to put the Office of the Public Defender in the Constitution. The administration changed, you might. The administration changed. People's National Party took over from 2011-12 until 2016, and nothing was done. Between 2016 and now, we've had Jamaica Labour Party administration, and nothing has been done. Just that legislation proposal should be dusted off, brought before the Parliament, and passed into law. So then, the Office of the Political Ombudsman would then have legal powers to refer matters to the Director of Public Prosecution for prosecution.
Professor, only because of time, we just have to leave it there, but I want to thank you for your time and for your thoughts today. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing with us, sir.
And thank you for having me, Stokeley. I look forward to being with you another time. All the very best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, listeners, for being with us, and join us again tomorrow as we look at other topical and controversial issues. And of course, download our Love 101 app and stay connected to us, the #1 gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. I am Stokeley Marshall, handing you back to Love in the Morning with DJ Parchment.
The Morning Watch was brought to you today by AIM Financial Corporation Limited. AIM has a loan for any purpose. Visit any of our branches in Mandeville, Kingston, Spanish Town, Portmore, Maypen, Ochias, and Montego Bay.
Over 100 murders